So hello and welcome back to NVN London. Now, as the title of this video would suggest, we're going hardcore deep clean on the Porsche Macan Turbo. This is my family daily driver, shopping car, everything to everyone. I beat this thing and it's not really looked after. And during this time of unprecedented crisis, every time I get in and out of the car, having been shopping or filled up at the petrol station or whatever, despite the fact that I'm really meticulous with sanitizing my hands and wearing gloves, etc., I can't help but think the amount of time that I've spent in and out of the car, who knows what's happening inside there. So today, it's all about this little box here. We are treating the car with ozone. Now, there are many different stages of which you can treat to disinfect and cleanse the inside of your car. But one of the most proven methods is ozone. And according to the Trade Association of Detailers, yes, that exists, I'm splicing it in right now, they have worked through treating and killing any potential viruses which are in your car. Now, there's UV treatment, there's steam cleaning, but ozone, high intense doses of ozone within the car have been the best results so far. So today, I'm going to share that with you. We're going to bomb the inside of the Macan using the Air Clean Ozone machine. Not only does it get rid of any nasties, it also gets rid of any smells or anything in your aircon system with. So we're going to go hardcore clean on the outside, and then on the inside, despite the fact that it's not too bad in there, who knows what invisible nasties may be lying inside. Let's gas them out. This is the condition of the family car. Beat, bugs, you know, with that time of year where we collect a vast array of wildlife on the front of the car, and lots of countryside dirt is gathered, because that's where I live, brake dust and grime from weeks of neglect, really. Lots of wildlife deposits, more bug impacts. If any of you guys watched the video a few months ago, we did wrap this car in a satin paint protection film, so at least the original paint is protected, but bird dirt and bugs, they have this acidic quality which tends to etch into paint, so I'm really glad that I protected this with the right film a few months ago. And then ultimately we're gonna go inside and give this a good gassing. Quite it's hot in here. You know, in here I've got this almost pint-size amount of hand sanitizer gel. I always have a new mask to hand here for if I go shopping or something like that. So there's always a new mask here. Thankfully, I haven't had to have my baby boy in the car for the last 8 weeks, but I'm gonna leave everything in, gas it with the ozone, nuke the inside of this thing. We're gonna boil the outside of it. We're going to jet wash it down with hot water and also almost boiling point snow foam. But there's so much grime on this car, it really needs it. So let's get to work. I'll run you through each stage and show you a before and after, and also outline what goes down when the ozone fan kicks in. Okay, so in a measure to maintain social distancing, I'm going to use the wonderful zoom of my zoom lens to focus on Raf over there, his team member here at NVN, and walk you through all of the detailing processes which are going to take place to decontaminate the outside of the Macan. Raf is applying an iron remover. This effectively helps to highlight and loosen what the substance classes as industrial fallout. The predominant application for this is normally brake dust, and this is the solution which turns a sort of pinky purpley color just to highlight how much contamination is on the wheels. My wheels are turning purple. As I mentioned, I haven't cleaned this car in a long time. Look at the dirt which is falling off this here. It's so satisfying, but slightly embarrassing considering the fact that I sort of run a detailing shop. Sorry about that, Macan. Look at that, that is grim. So the black, that's straight up off my wheels. The purple is the iron, and it's doing a good job of etching away anything that would otherwise be adhered to these wheels. Look at that. Here's Raf working on the back one over here as well. No doubt that will also flare up a wonderful shade of purple when it hits all of the debris that's come off the brake dust. What Raf's doing now is whacking up the temperature of the jet wash to 100 degrees. So this will be a real intense wash from this machine. Just as I mentioned, we're going over and above to decontaminate the car. So satisfying. right, next stage. So that part of the process was to remove as much dirt as we can without making physical contact with the wheel. Trying to get it as clean as we can because we don't want any sort of loose particles rubbing around the alloys. And then this stage is effectively wheel shampoo, which always looks great when it goes in the bucket. All right, next stage. I know tire cleaning is typically considered to be applied towards the end of a wash process, but these are so dirty, we're also applying an APC, the all-purpose cleaner on these. So at the tail end of last year, I had some wonderfully fresh Michelin Latitude 3s fitted to these. They got a gorgeous sidewall, and no doubt we'll be keeping them pristine towards the end of this process. But while we're here with the APC, just lifting off that sidewall grime, look at it turning brown. It's quite a satisfying process. Okay, wheels cleaned. Next up, bug degreaser, and I'm telling you, if there was a car that needed it, it is this right now. From afar, not too bad, but as we zoom in, oh, there it is. It's starting to show itself. Now, some of this is fresh from the drive down. Some of it has been baked on there for quite a few weeks, and fortunately, the weather in the UK has been hot, but that means, you know, bug acid, this stuff is hardcore. So it's effectively a sort of all-purpose cleaner, but specifically for surface grime and Beetlejuice, as it were. So this will stay on the surface, eat into it, and hopefully begin to etch into and lift these really hard to move bugs. Okay, bug decontamination has taken place. Now, before we hit this with snow foam, by far my favorite process, let me run you through this remarkable equipment. What we have here is a 4-stage filtration system for the water, commonly known as a reverse osmosis unit. However, that is sort of strictly this cylinder here. What the other 3 do is remove carbon, remove sediments. This is the reverse osmosis, and then this is the deionization chamber. In short, that results in this water here being purer than Evian. That is absolutely neutral. It's almost dead water. There's no minerals, there's no zero in there. Idea is that when it is applied to the car, it won't leave any residue which is otherwise found in natural water. So fire away. Stage, snow foam applied with a boiling water base. We're using the classic 2-bucket method. For those of you guys who may not be familiar, we have 1 bucket of clean water and 1 bucket to rinse out your mitt in the dirty water. We're also using 2 mitts, one which will only be applied to the upper bodywork and one which will only be used for the lower bodywork. When the lower bodywork mitt has been applied, it will only ever be used with 1 wipe. It will never then be pulled off the paint and pulled back on again, because typically lower body has a lot more dirt and grime. Despite the fact we've been through a pretty thorough decontamination process, you never know, and it's just typical that you might get a sort of stray stone in there which can cause some scratching. So lower body always gets its own bucket and its own wash process, just to try to minimize any scratches which may otherwise occur. For example, this is one of the reasons why we use a separate mitt for the lower half of the car. We're going to run it underneath and just show you the can of dirt. Now don't forget, this car has already been jet washed underneath already, and you can see it there, look, on the mitt there. So this is exactly why the lower part of the car gets its own mitt. There you go. That's after decontamination, jet wash, snow foam. It's still hanging around, so you can't be too careful. All right, snow foamed, washed, wiped, not dried, but do you remember the front of this earlier? Look at this. And you can just see that satin, that matte PPF coming through. With the water on it, it sort of looks how its normal paint is. It looks glossy, but underneath, and look how it repels water. You can see it falling off, revealing that matte PPF. And the bugs have come off remarkably well. And that's the other thing about PPF. It does just dispel and lift dirt and grime. If that was clear coat and paint, it would those bug etchings which have been on there in the heat 4 weeks would have etched in there, but it's come out incredibly well, and we haven't even finished the process yet. So looking good. I've forgotten how cool this thing looks. It's been baked in dirt. Anyway, onto the drying stage, and then let's get down to that decontamination of the interior and the all-important ozone process. Okay, next stage, we're actually air drying it. So we have this air blower here. Reason being, we like to minimize the amount of contact with the car when drying it. And it also gets into the tighter nooks and crannies and gaps that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get to in a cloth. And then if we do have to use a cloth, it's dabbed and not wiped. Again, it might sound extreme, but we just don't want to risk anything that might be on a cloth after all of this hard work, just picking up any dirt and putting any mild scratches and things. So that's why we're using air. And so here it is. Look at this. This is what it looked like. I remember actually the last time that I saw it in this condition was in here under this lighting. It looks phenomenal. This is why we went for the satin wrap. Just look at the contours that satin shows off. It is ridiculous. Anyway, less of that, more of this. So this is ultimately the stage we got to. This is what I've been referring to as nuking the interior. This is the ozone machine. So on the front you can dial in how many minutes you want to apply it for. Ultimately this is really designed for larger rooms. So when you end up putting it in a car, it's really a sort of high concentrated treatment. It comes with this as well. Honestly, I can't stress enough, once this goes in the car, highly toxic environment. I mean, it's quite odd because ozone naturally occurs in the environment anyway, but not in high quantities like this thing kicks out. And I think ultimately it displaces the oxygen, replaces it with ozone. And yes, it doesn't take a scientist to work out that if you're in a car when this thing is on full chat, it's not going to end well. It works best if you place it on the armrest there between both seats, and then that will circulate around the car, giving it a really good decontamination. So let's rig it up, hit it, see how it goes. Okay, first things first, I'm going to attach this on the inside mirror like that. So if anyone comes towards the car, they know not to open it. Of course, if you open it as well, it will reduce the impact of the effect, not only it being dangerous, so then we'll have to start all over again. And then let's place it between the seats. So I'm gonna bring this in like so. And when it gets in the car, you can kind of see, for context, the size of it. It's gonna emit ozone from here. The promise of this machine as well, obviously we're using it in the times of COVID-19 to go the extra step to really cleanse the car. But in normal circumstances, this is great for getting rid of smells. You know, if you've bought a car which was the car of, say, someone who used to smoke in it, this is the kind of thing which will help to get rid of those smells. You might have spilt some drink in there, anything like that. This goes the extra lengths to really decontaminate the car. So let's turn it on, get out of the car, and check back in probably about half an hour. Okay, next stage before we install the ozone machine and turn it on, the idea is for this to truly circulate throughout the car. So most cars these days, they have the option to recirculate the air. This will also flow the ozone through all the pipes, filtering out any bacteria which is in there. So in the Macan, air circulation on here, and then I'm going to crank up the fan. So it's going to really get a solid flow through. And then we're going to put the ozone in, crank it up.
Dosing of ozone, I decided to leave the car overnight and return to it today, upon which I collected it from NVN, drove outside, I've been around doing some errands. I parked it under the dwelling tree of what I can only describe as a loose-boweled pterodactyl. The deposits, which I came back to after nipping to a shop, are nothing short of prehistoric. I mean, what is that? Jurassic log on my clean sunroof. So anyway, less of that, more of the ozone. What's it all about? Well, unfortunately, it's probably the least dramatic process in which to film because it is ultimately invisible. But what I will say is that the inside of my car smells like the aftermath of a thunderstorm. And that's no coincidence because ozone is a natural gas which is generated during a thunderstorm where the lightning actually turns oxygen O2 into O3. And it is at that stage when all of the bacteria is killed. Now, to set some context as to just what a good job ozone does of killing bacteria, it is said that it will kill 99.99% of bacteria and viruses, and is 150% stronger than chlorine and acts 3,000 times quicker. So if there was anything that was living in here, it isn't anymore, and the air in here is just crisp. So there we have it. One clean, well, was clean Macan. I shall be featuring the future of this car as well on the channel in due time. But for now, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope everybody is happy, healthy, and keeping each other safe during this unprecedented time. And I look forward to sharing more car content with you very soon. Ciao!